Welcome to the Trade Park Connection with Tommy. This video is on your WrestleMania results. Pay-per-view from April 6th. Well, here we go with the results from the show, pre-show and what have you. But first, as usual, some wrestling news going on. Of course, some Shane McMahon news. And a BuzzFeed has a lengthy new article up on Shane McMahon with quotes from he and Vince McMahon and some of the highlights. Shane comments on rumors of a civil war that led to his WWE departure. No, there was not a civil war. My sister is involved in the company now with her husband Triple H. They're there. My dad's there. Things are moving forward. And then he comments on working with his father. My dad held me to a different standard without question, sometimes unfairly. And that's okay. It's tough to bat 1,000 all the time, and it's one wrong all the time. It teaches you. It definitely teaches you. It's a way of teaching. Vince comments on his relationship with Shane. When you have a family business, you expect more out of the family. Same with my daughter. Same with my son-in-law. Same with my wife. You just expect more from them. I think there's no doubt I was harder on Shane than a non-family member for sure. We're close. We've always been close, and we always will be. Anytime that there's family business, there is some degree of difficulty. But at the same time, you put the business part aside, and you have a relationship with a son and his father. Those bonds you never break. Then Shane comments on a possible return. Would I ever come back? I would never count it out because anything can happen in WWE. Shane on possibly running the company one day, it's in my blood. I would answer if I feel it's right, the right time. I could make a significant difference. I would consider it. And Vince comments on a Shane return. It was Shane's decision to go out on his own, and it will be Shane's decision to come back if he wishes to. And that's all they commented on. Sean Valentino, MPW Torch Specialist, passed along some live notes on the Hall of Fame. Highlights. One of the highlights of the Hall of Fame is always when the wrestlers enter in their suits and evening gowns. They added a classy touch this year with red carpet. I was never a fan of Lita, but she was a deserving entrant into the hall. Trish was classy and well-spoken, as always in her intro. Although she looked much better as a blonde, Lita looked the best she has in her career, and she delivered a good speech. Unfortunately, she went on way too long, and she lost me numerous times. I almost wanted to give her the traditional Divas bathroom break. She should have not been given more than 15 minutes of fame. This was longer than any of her matches. There was a huge distraction because they were not showing the speech on the big screen. If you heard booing on the TV, it was because the crowd was upset that the screen was going on and off. A get the screen back chant started at one point. This was horrible production glitch by WWE, which is highly unusual because they are normally always top notch. DDP gave a phenomenal introduction, though it was not shown on the actual Monday After Raw portion of it. I love how he talked about Jake was one of the ones who helped him get a start, which made Roberts' speech all the more poignant. This was epic storytelling, and it brought tears to your eyes, and they were told on numerous levels. Art imitating life. DDP should have been in the Hall of Fame based on this alone. I had chills, especially knowing that was about to come. Of course, nothing could have prepared us for Jake's heart-wrenching acceptance, along with the Ultimate Warriors, and his daughters and his wife and his mom was even in attendance. This was one of the greatest things I've ever seen at any pop culture stage. It was the most emotional public speech I've seen since the reporter was in the Staples Center seeing Paris Jackson talk about her father, Michael, passing away. Unfortunately, there were some annoying catcalls from the audience. These people should be thrown out of the building immediately. It literally felt like Jake took us all into a deep, dark journey into his own demons, and it was an overwhelming experience to see him openly sharing his story of redemption. His speech also showed what made him such a great wrestling character because his chilling vocal delivery and his psychological skills are unparalleled. This was an impossible act to follow. Then you had whoever decided it was a good idea to put Hornswoggle and El Dorito, or whatever his name is on stage, should be immediately fired. Mean Gene Okerlund had an excellent induction speech. Can somebody explain why he does not have that announcer's role on television for life? It again emphasizes how bland the cookie cutter commentators of today are. Nobody else does it better. Then came the absolute embarrassment of the night. Mr. T's induction speech was an absolute debacle on the Brock Lesnar Goldberg match scale. Well, thankfully the crowd took over and made it a good train wreck. This awful speech made me want to never call my mother again. The crowd had some great moments like, "This is awesome," and "Call your mother," chants. It is completely inexcusable that WWE did not cut him off in 5 minutes. Now I can see why Roddy Piper and others hated him so much. Sad thing is that I met Mr. T a couple days ago at the hotel, and he was really cool, but his speech made me want to throw away the A-Team lunchbox that I've had my whole entire life, according to the reporter. On a more serious level, being in New Orleans for a few days, it is unbelievable how backdated things seem to be when it comes to race. It almost feels like a time capsule to the days of minstrel shows. Mr. T portrayed himself as an awful racial stereotype. Hopefully his son took a cab home a few minutes into his atrocity. Kane coming out and cutting T off was one of the highlights of the night. I can see why he is into politics, because he is an excellent orator. He gave a great speech mixing humor and historical perspective on Paul Bearer's career. One of the highlights of the night was the surprise appearance of The Undertaker, and even in the Hall of Fame setting, his entrance inspired all. Thaddeus Barrett's segment was highlight of the night. It wasn't shown on TV. Say what you will about the character, Wade Barrett at least plays it to the hilt, and it was one of the show-stealing moments of the night. The audience laughed out loud, especially the wrestlers in the front row. Kevin Nash had a funny moment when he made a mockery of Mr. T's religious references by talking about how his gray hair amplifies his wisdom. Scott Hall, also known as Razor Ramon, who I admit the night before looked amazing in his white suit with a diva on each arm. Ramon was one of my favorite characters as a youth, and I must say that he is still the absolute epitome of cool. This is something wrestling is really missing today. There's someone you can look at that actually makes it feel cool to be a wrestling fan. His music is still amazing. I'm not sure if his speech was cut short or if he intentionally shortened it, but I would have loved to see him talk longer about his storied career. Howley and Mr. T talked for over half an hour apiece, and Hollow getting a few moments is mind-boggling. The crowd went crazy seeing the Click reunion on stage for the first time in years. Ramon had the best line of the night. Hard work pays off and dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Hey, he did it in poem style. Freestyle, as some people want John Cena's rap character to come back. Again, you cannot teach that type of coolness. Then came the unexpected highlight of Carlito having some funny insider lines of getting his time cut short, just like in his matches. The crowd gave him a huge ovation, and you could tell he was having a great time. Carlos Colon being entered into the hall is a disgrace, but it seemed like most of the crowd was not aware of the Bruiser Brody murder cover-up. There was one fan that screamed, "You killed Brody," to gas, but it did not catch on. I have no idea why WWE felt the need to induct Colon, and I was bored throughout his speech. Then came the second worst speech of the night, and that was Mrs. Charisma minus Linda McMahon introducing the Ultimate Warrior. Keep in mind, I have met her numerous times in person, And she is an incredible, nice lady, but so is my mom, and do not want to see her on a wrestling show either. It was a brutally dull introduction to one of the most colorful characters in wrestling history. The surprise of the night was Ultimate Warrior's speech, which was excellent on all types of levels. It was not a big Warrior. I was not a big Warrior fan as a child, but I believe he has been bashed so much he is actually underrated in many ways. He was not a great ring technician in a traditional sense, but there are many aspects of being a great worker, and every wrestler can take notes on his character presentation, entrance, look, and screen presence. He was a cartoon superhero come to life, and he made more of an impact in a few seconds than guys like Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston can in years. Warrior was up there for 45 minutes, and he had most of the crowd in the palm of his hand. It was obvious why he was such a popular character amongst the fans, because he truly is a magnetic presence. His charisma shown even without his face paint. I love how he walked the line on controversial topics, but he was also respectful to the business and to the ceremony. He said things I have been writing in my articles for years, and one of the magical things about wrestling in the creation of a larger-than-life character, and that is something rarely seen in the past decade. I love how he talked about how he was able to express his creativity through being the Warrior, and how he had a vision that expressed to Vince McMahon even before his first TV appearance. His acceptance speech could have been titled The Self-Defense of the Ultimate Warrior, but he stood his ground and managed to be entertaining and informative. Even if other wrestlers did not like him, he still has a bond with the audience. He made a great point in such a flaky, unstable business. If he was so disrespectful and unappreciative of wrestling, then why did he last so many years? This was one of the greatest live events I've ever seen, and it was amazing to see how many of the iconic figures I watched growing up being entered into Hall of Fame. Additionally, I really hope that all of today's talents take lessons on how to portray a memorable, bigger-than-life character that has a lasting connection with the audience. And that was the end of the highlights for the Hall of Fame ceremony. On the WrestleMania program itself, WWE Diva Cameron had a wardrobe malfunction during the Divas match at WrestleMania 30. Thanks to .NET reader Rich Connor noted that her top completely detached from her body during an exchange with Emma. She held her top over her and rolled out of the ring and never returned. So, that was scripted. A lot of friends and what have you were hoping that she would win. Be a fan favorite. I guess this news that WWE can expect a surge in video-on-demand replays of the Divas match. No one mentioned anything about the shots of her being exposed, but I know that will stop people from studying the match like a Zapruder film. The Houston Press has a new article up looking at Booker T's reality of wrestling promotion. The article noted that the reality of wrestling was scheduled to shut down after the December Christmas Chaos event at a local business. Hilton Coach stepped in and wanted to be a partner. Coach's involvement, along with support from sponsors such as Lewis Diamonds and Walker Texas Lawyer, allowed Booker T to secure the company's lifeline, a weekly TV deal with the KUBE, Channel 57, for those that are in Houston. You can watch it live on the program. And Booker is expected to make money with ROW for the first time in the near future. No yet on their debut for that. One man at Access proposed to his girlfriend in front of Rosamund there then Oksana, and the woman said yes, which started a big Borgasm Yes chant among the fans. More news this week. The WWE Studios will be screening the new movie Oculus. Well, that was on the 4th. I believe it was Friday. Hulk Hogan was introducing at the Ritz-Carlton New Orleans Hotel as the host, and it started at 8 p.m. Free passes were distributed by Relatively Media, and you can sign up for the WWE.me. I'll place that little link there. The horror movie directed by Mike Flanagan will be released in theaters nationwide on April 11th. WWE WrestleMania 30 results from New Orleans, Louisiana at the Superdome, as Hulk Hogan announced it as the Silverdome. Boy, that was a botch of history. Zeb Coulter delivers a brief We the People promo as the pre-show starts. Michael Cole, JBL, and Jerry Lawler are on commentary as the first matchup in the pre-show. Uso Brothers versus Real Americans versus Los Matadors versus Ryback in a fatal four-way tag team championship match. JBL said that it was now an elimination match. Torito gave his big moment early when he dove on to everyone at ringside. But just after that, I had to leave and pick up my buddy so we could watch after the first two matches of WrestleMania, because he got off work at 6 o'clock. Los Matadors was first eliminated team when Jack Swagger eliminated him with the Patriot lock on one of them. Ryback slowed things down, and the fan held up rest hold sign. Jey Uso had a flurry offense. Cesaro ended up in the ring with Ryback and put away with him in neutralizer. The fans popped for elimination. The match came down to the Usos and the Real Americans. The Uso brothers cleared the ring and the Real Americans from the ring and then performed big dives over the top rope onto them. The Uso brothers cleared the Real Americans from the ring and then performed big dives over the top rope onto them again. Dove off the top as Cesaro caught him and followed up with a near fall. They jockeyed for position as Cesaro went for the big swing, only to have it broken up. Jimmy Uso went for the rear splash in the corner, but Swagger avoided it and locked him in the Patriot lock. It was broken up quickly, and then there were rapid-fire shots involving all four wrestlers, which drew cheers from the crowd. All four men were laid in the ring and sold it. The second "This is awesome" chant of the night so far broke out. Later, the Usos hit the double super kick on Cesaro, then performed a double top rope splash from the opposite corners to get the win. The Uso brothers defeated Real Americans and Ryback in 16 minutes and 15 seconds to retain the tag titles. After the match, Swagger yelled at Cesaro while Coulter tried to calm him down. Swagger applied the Patriot lock briefly, but Zeb pulled him off. Zeb ordered Swagger to hug it out. Swagger offered a handshake. Cesaro got up and shook it, and then took Swagger down and delivered Cesaro's swing to a nice ovation. A good match. The awesome chants were a little premature, but I liked the crowd that was fired up and wants to see something special. You had to know something was coming up when Cesaro lost the match before he could perform the swing. The split was done in a way that I expect Coulter's character to be eliminated on Raw tomorrow night, and we'll try to get them on the same page on Raw. The panel of Josh Matthews, Booker T, Trish Stratus, and Alex Smiley spoke. A video package recap the setup for the Divas title match. The panel discussed Daniel Bryan and Triple H and then wrapped up the pre-show. WrestleMania starts with an opening video focusing on the 30 years of WrestleMania with New Orleans flavor. The broadcast team was Michael Coleslaw, Justin Bradshaw, Layfield, and Jerry the King Lawler. The ring announcer Justin Roberts introduced Hulk Hogan to start off the show. As the host, the impressive ramp had Hogan images as he walked to the stage, and an awesome stage lit up in red and yellow. Hogan got a mega pop as he headed to the ring. Once Real America stopped playing, the fans erupted with Hogan chant. Well, let me tell you something, brother, as Hogan started. First off, I'd like to welcome everyone here to the Silverdome at WrestleMania 30. There's your botch. He said Silverdome a second time. I'm sorry, it's the Superdome, brother. Hogan said with a smile. He said he was thinking about the body slamming Andre and corrected himself again. Hogan started talking about the special moments and the cue the grass breaking for Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance. That was a surprise to WrestleMania. Cole saw noted that it was Austin's first WrestleMania appearance since WrestleMania 27. Austin and Hogan had a quick stare down. If you're ready for WrestleMania 30, give me a hell yeah, Stone Cold said. And he said it was good to be back at the Silverdome. And looked at Hogan and smiled. Austin then asked the crowd if they want him to open a can of whoop-ass on Hogan. The crowd obliged. Austin said that's what he thought they would say. He recalled saying everything Hogan did beginning of WrestleMania 1. He ran through the list and got what chance for after each one. He stopped at the 10 count and said, "You get the picture." Also said they have been very protective of their legacies. He said he has nothing but respect for Hogan and appreciates everything he's done for the business. Some give Stone Cold Steve Austin a hell yeah, Hogan said. Also said he would love to stay and flap his gums, but this is the night for the current regime. And Austin reminded fans that Austin 316 says, "I just whoop your ass." Rock's entrance music played, and he made his entrance. Rock slapped his hands and gave a quick hug to both men. After a brief setup, Rock delivered finally the Rock has come back to New Orleans line, which means finally the Rock has come back to WrestleMania. Rock said he, Hogan, and Austin have finally come back to the Superdome. Rock smiled and looked at Hogan while saying the drawn out Superdome, and Austin got a big laugh as well. Rock said that when he looks at across the ring, he doesn't see legends and icons. He sees his good buddy Austin and his childhood hero Hogan. Rock said both men have had an incredible effect on the locker room. He said a man will come out and fight in the name of hustle, loyalty, and respect to the booze, and said he wouldn't have done that if it hadn't been for Hogan's say your prayers line back in the day. Rock said a man will come out and rise against the authority. The fans chanted yes. Rock says that wouldn't be happening if it hadn't been for Austin whooping the booze candy ass. Then Rock delivered a fun line about how many WWE fans are born 9 months after WrestleMania, then capped it off with a rhyme about rock babies. Rock ran through a list of names that ended with Sheamus and said that if they thought they fought the three of them, we'd stick our boots right up their anus. Rock said it was boots to asses time and concluded with, "If you smell what the Rock is cooking." Austin delivered that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so, and Hogan asked, "What you gonna do when Rock, Austin, and the Superdome run wild on you, brothers?" Fans popped for the Superdome line, and Austin, Rock, and Hogan drank beer in the ring as they toasted each other in that little segment. A cool, memorable moment with the three icons of the WrestleMania era. It's a shame that they let the word out about Austin and Rock appearing, because I think it would have felt even more special if it had been a surprise. Of course, that's easier said than done. Still a cool moment to start the show. Hogan's Silverdome versus Superdome slip turned out to be fun. Well, to me, if you watched the actual pay-per-view, to me it was Botchmania. Well, you got the Hogan botch, and then later on, the Brock Taker mess up, screw job, whatever you want to call it. I call it Botchmania myself. Even Paul Heyman was surprised about Brock winning, as you will see in the results in a few minutes. Well, let's start off with got a Daniel Bryan and Triple H video package airing. Stephanie McMahon stood in the ring with a unique outfit and begged for the riding crop. She introduced Triple H, who was brought out on a throne, Conan-like gear on. The three blondes surrounding him. Daniel Bryan made his entrance next to 70,000 fans doing the Borgasm Yes routine. It was reported there was actually 75,000 there. Stephanie flashed a nasty scowl at Bryan, who was all smiles as he reached the ring and surveyed the crowd before leading them into a Borgasm Yes chant. Bryan had his shoulder bandaged to sell the Raw attack as Stephanie kissed Hunter. First up, of course, you already got the two men in the ring. The back of Bryan's boots were furry. After he stared out across the ring, a smug Triple H offered a handshake. Bryan kicked it away. Bryan threw some kicks at Hunter, who rolled the ringside. Stephanie tried to calm him down. Hunter returned to the ring and went after Bryan's shoulder, but Bryan put him down with a drop kick. After 4 minutes 50 seconds in, Bryan threw a kick to Hunter's gut, but Hunter caught his leg and wrenched it, and he took Bryan to the mat. Hunter tried to bring Bryan, who came right back and ended up performing a tornado DDT on Hunter at ringside. Bryan went for a flip or something off the top rope, and Triple H propelled him into the barricade. Oddly enough, Bryan was the first man up. Triple H took control with a pedigree on the announcer table. Bryan fought back. Hunter grabbed Bryan's arm and wrenched it into a table. At 8 minutes in, Triple H brought Bryan back into the ring and targeted Bryan's arm. Bryan came back and ran the ropes to tease a suicide dive onto Hunter on the floor. But Triple H reached in and caught Bryan with a shot. Both men up on the ring apron. Hunter put Bryan's arm behind his back and picked him up. Then fell onto the floor, causing Bryan to land on the ring apron, which was a cool move. Stephanie applauded and gave Triple H a kiss as Bryan was on the floor, and the referee made his count. Bryan returned to the ring to beat the count. Triple H applied a crossface chicken wing. The fans chanted Bryan's name. Hunter took Bryan down and applied the crossface. Bryan reached the ropes, and Hunter held on to it until the referee counted to 4. Bryan started to come back, and they traded punches. Then Bryan caught Hunter with a running forearm to the head. Bryan got to his feet and threw kicks at Hunter. He cut him off with a kick to the gut. Bryan tried to flip off the top rope, but he landed on his feet and ended up performing a pair of German suplexes for 2 counts. Triple H stood behind Bryan and went for a crossface chicken wing again, but Bryan avoided it. Hunter hooked Bryan's arms from behind and performed a wicked tiger suplex that the crowd gasped for. And 15 minutes, 10 seconds in, Hunter placed Bryan on top rope and went for a superplex, but Bryan blocked it. Bryan threw punches to the side of Hunter and performed the top rope sunset flip into a power bomb. Bryan caught Triple H with 2 running drop kicks in the corner, but Hunter was waiting for him and drilled him with a clothesline. When he went for a third clothesline, Stephanie cheered loudly from the corner. Triple H went for the pedigree, but Bryan performed a double leg takedown. Bryan blasted with a kick to the head. At 18 minutes in, Bryan went for a top rope move, but Hunter lifted his knee and Bryan took it in the face on the way down. Triple H applied the crossface again. Bryan ended up escaping the crossface and countered into an orgasm lock. Triple H reached the ropes. Bryan broke the hold and Hunter rolled to ringside. Bryan hit him with a back suicide dives. Bryan threw 2 kicks at Hunter and then rolled him back inside the ring. And Bryan performed a mythical drop kick, but Bryan came up selling the shoulder from the landing. As Bryan kicked up with Hunter kneeling, Bryan threw repeated kicks to his chest and then went to his head and went for a cover. But Hunter kicked out at 2 at 22 minutes, 15 seconds in. Bryan back to the corner and led the Borgasm Yes chance. Bryan charged as Bryan went for a running knee, but Hunter turned it into the Flying Buster. Triple H hit the pedigree and covered Bryan for the 1-2 kick up for a big pop. Bryan went for a small package, but Hunter escaped. Hunter worked him over. Triple H went for a pedigree, but Bryan backdropped him into a pin for a 2 count. Bryan caught Triple H with a kick, and then Hunter went for a pedigree, but Bryan avoided it, kicked Hunter, and then caught him with a running knee for the win. Well, it took 26 minutes to get the win and advance to the Triple Threat Heavyweight Championship match. After the match, Stephanie looked shocked. Bryan celebrated with the fans. Stephanie entered the ring and slapped Bryan across the face. Then Hunter got to him with a clothesline. Hunter wrapped Bryan's arm around the ring post and then slammed him with a chair. A trainer tended to Bryan, and Hunter and Stephanie left to their back with boos. They stopped at the top of the stage and got mugged and mugging for the crowd. Meanwhile, Bryan was holding his arm at his side and yelled, "I'm fine," at the trainer. One hell of a match. I must admit, I was concerned during the opening minutes that it seemed like they were still trying to find the groove, but they definitely got there. The highlight for me was when Bryan kicking out in the pedigree. You knew it was coming at some point, but it was one of those moments you weren't entirely sure whether he would survive it. The guys watching at my place my buddy was popping big time, as we knew it was going to go back and forth for the obvious winning. But the post-match was well done, and the fans were receptive. A commercial aired for Mountain Dew. New Age Outlaws made their entrance, and Road Dogg did a quick bit of mic work before the Shields music played. The Shield members came out wearing skeleton half masks. Kane made his entrance with the Outlaws. I missed this entire thing. I went to have a bathroom break myself. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose versus Kane, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg. Well, apparently Billy Gunn got injured in this match, and we'll see what happens. Because I didn't see it actually happen myself. Reigns worked over the Outlaws, and I was going for the Shield in this match anyways. Well, Reigns worked over the Outlaws to start the match. This was actually a squash match. He stacked them over the ropes and went to the floor and performed his running kick to both men. He went for a Superman punch, but Kane had checked in and caught him by the throat. Rollins had already tagged in and cut Kane's chokeslam attempt. After all 6 men brawled in the ring, Rollins and Ambrose ended up diving onto the Outlaws on the floor. Reigns performed a spear in the ring on Kane and then caught the Outlaws with a double spear. The Shield performed a 2-man triple powerbomb on the Outlaws as Rollins pinned Billy Gunn. Well, after the match, I think Billy was rushed to the hospital as well. He was I think he was bleeding internally. I'll give you the actual what he was diagnosed with after the results. Well, the Shield defeated the Outlaws and Kane in 2 minutes 55 seconds. Like I said, a squash match. I lost a squash match for the Shield. Convinced myself that the Outlaws and Kane could step up and this could be a decent match. But it wasn't laid out the way that would give them a chance to do that. The right team went over real strong, and I feel let down by the Shield's role in WrestleMania 30. Backstage, Sergeant Slaughter, Hacksaw, Jim Duggan. I caught this part of it. With action figures as former heel referee Danny Davis made the count. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat delivered an embarrassing war cry, as my mom even recognized him back from the day. She was actually watching the pay-per-view as well, somewhat briefly, and he entered the picture in his gear. A suit took the toy set and said he believes it belongs to someone else. Ted DiBiase showed up and said, "Everybody has a price for the $1 million man." Little laugh. Ron Simmons popped up and says, "Well, you're waiting for it." 30-man Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial show and Sheamus were the only televised entrants. Cesaro, Yoshitatsu, Xavier Woods. Yoshi hasn't been there since maybe last year. David Otunga were the entrants, and I don't recall seeing advertised by one of them. May have been, and whenever I counted, there was only like 25 guys in the event. Yoshi was the first man eliminated, of course. Later, there was a brief Fandango moment after he eliminated a wrestler and the crowd started humming his song. Sheamus broke up the Fandango movement with repeated forearms to the chest and knocked him off the apron. Sheamus stopped and gave a light shove that caused the weary Fandango to fall to the floor. Later, Kofi was tossed over and it looked like he was supposed to land on the stairs, but he fell to the floor. He ended up lying on the ringside mat at his feet on the ring steps. The referee allowed him to continue. He took the Cesaro swing and was eliminated shortly thereafter. The final 4 was Big Show, Cesaro, Sheamus, and Alberto Del Rio. Sheamus and Del Rio ended up eliminating each other simultaneously, leaving Big Show and Cesaro in the ring. Big surprise, Cesaro ended up catching Show and body slamming him over the top rope onto the floor for the win. Afterwards, Show reached in and shook Cesaro's hand. Cesaro then posed with the trophy and then picked it up. Cesaro won in 13 minutes 40 seconds. All the hype with the armored truck carrying the trophy on the pre-show, and the whole thing felt rushed. I thought we were going to see the big show take the Cesaro swing, but they are wisely saving that. The moment was obviously a big body slam, and the crowd was receptive. A cool surprise winner, and you'll even get a surprise on Raw. So, probably the returning RED. And Paul Heyman gets a new guy. As he's been teasing for the last 2 weeks, I just hope they've had something big planned for Cesaro's side. The obvious program with Jack Swagger. Broadcast team sets up John Cena versus Bray Wyatt video package. Voodoo dance number took place on stage. Wyatt family did their backstage entrance line. Of course, the voodoo dance number is the Bray Wyatt package. Wyatt family entered with her as their name was played live on the stage by a band wearing bird masks and a singer-songwriter on vocals. Wearing face paint, John Cena walked off the stage, then turned back and nodded, then headed to the ring. Wyatt family entrance was cool. The look of the band really worked with their vibe. Cena's nod suggested that he has backup waiting. My guard is set up for run-ins to counter Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Wasn't much of that. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. First up, I thought the referee was going to immediately throw them out of the match. But Wyatt dropped to his knees and told Cena to beat a monster he is and finish him. With his hands behind his back, Cena got to the better of Wyatt, who responded with laughter. Cena threw repeated punches at Wyatt in the corner. Harper stood on the ring apron, but Wyatt told him no. 6 minutes 30 seconds in, Wyatt kicked Cena and then slammed him. Wyatt pounced on Cena and then threw punches at him while making aggressive noises. Wyatt threw a clothesline and then Cena ducked and Cena followed up with a drop kick. Wyatt came right back with a sleeper hold. 7 minutes 40 seconds in, Cena performed some of his signature spots and then smiled at the crowd before setting up for the 5-knuckle shuffle. When he bounced off the rope, Wyatt was in a crab walk position. Cena acted shocked and backed away, then had to chase Harper off the ring apron, and Wyatt took advantage of the distraction. A group of fans briefly saying, "He's got the whole world in his hands." What's your favorite to be the Fandango moment for this year's Raw after WrestleMania? Cena went for a leg drop off the top rope, but Wyatt caught him and slammed him down with a powerbomb style for a 2 count. Cena came right back and hit the 5-knuckle shuffle and went for the attitude adjustment, but Wyatt avoided it. He caught Cena with an awkward gut buster. They fought to the ring apron and Cena went for the attitude adjustment, but Wyatt avoided it and performed a DDT-like move in which he drove Cena's head into the apron, yet Wyatt landed on his feet at ringside. The singing started up again. Wyatt looked to the loudest fans and held his arms out. Then swayed briefly as he walked over to Cena and hit him again. Cena fought back and went to the top rope. Cena dove onto Harper and Rowan at ringside. Rather onto Wyatt. Bray regained control at ringside and went to hit Cena with the ring steps, but Cena avoided it. Cena ended up hoisting the ring steps over his head and let out a primal scream. Cena hesitated while telling a story that really doesn't make much sense. Back in the ring, Wyatt hits a running body splash. Cena came back with an attitude adjustment, went for a cover. Wyatt kicks out. Harper caught Cena with a kick that put Wyatt back into control. Wyatt threw Cena to the floor. Harper stood with his arms in the crucifix position, posed, and Cena stood up and speared him into the timekeeper's area. Wyatt went to the corner and mugged the crowd. Then leaned over backwards and looked at Cena. Wyatt set up his finisher. Cena escaped without taking the kiss and applied the STF. Wyatt reached the ropes to break the hold, but they got to their feet and Wyatt performed Sister Abigail for a 2 count. 20 minutes 15 seconds in, Wyatt tore apart the Spanish announce table. Then the feed froze a few times for a few seconds, but picked up where it left off. Wyatt grabbed a chair and returned to the ring. So apparently they didn't work on the pay-per-view that much. They're trying to keep it perfect. Wyatt put the chair down and knelt down with his arms out and challenged Cena to hit him. Cena seized and wound up. Rowan stood on the apron and Cena ran past Wyatt and struck Rowan with the chair to knock him down. Wyatt rolled up Cena for a 2 count and went for the Sister Abigail, but Cena slipped out and hit the attitude adjustment and scored the clean pin. The broadcast team said Cena kept his legacy, staying true to himself and giving in to the dark side. Not giving in to the dark side, Cena celebrated with his father at ringside. And the match took 23 minutes. A disappointing match with a bizarre story. I get the idea that Cena had to fight off the temptation of going too dark with the chair and shouts of violence. Being his heel turn, but I don't feel that this was set up with the story they told leading into the match. Years from now, people will watch this match on the WWE Network and assume that they need to go back and watch Raw to see the setup. And they will be left confused and disappointed if they do. I had a few network glitches, but it doesn't sound like it was a widespread issue so far. Multiple commercials aired, then a video package of the WWE Hall of Fame was shown. Howard Finkel introduced the members of the 2014 Hall of Fame class for intermission. Mr. T's mother would be so proud they saved Ultimate Warrior for last. He got a similar reaction than I anticipated. Backstage, the trainer examined Daniel Bryan's shoulder. A video package set up the Undertaker vs. Brock Lesnar match. Match number 5, Undertaker vs. Brock with Paul Heyman. 22 coffins with the names of the streak. Matches losers rolled onto the stage as part of Taker's entrance. The last coffin had Lesnar's name on it. Brock showed no fear this time around. Undertaker wore a black hat and a jacket with red trim on each. Taker and Brock had a stare down beforehand. The bell rang and they went right after each other. Taker won the first exchange with quick punches, but Lesnar clotheslined him in the corner and caught him with a big wicked suplex. Lesnar clotheslined Taker to the floor and Taker landed on his feet. Cool spot. Taker came back from the floor by clotheslining Lesnar by pulling his neck over the top rope. This is where I think he got injured here. The crowd went very quiet for the initial exchange, but an Undertaker chant broke out around 2 minutes. Taker took it to Lesnar on the floor and ran his shoulder into the ring post. The crowd was quiet again, and they rolled back into the ring. Taker went for the old school, but Lesnar punched him down, and they drove his shoulder into Taker's gut repeatedly. Taker went for a running shoulder block, but Taker moved, and Brock went to the ropes into the post. 4 minutes, 10 seconds in. Taker performed a leg drop on Lesnar, whose neck was draped over the edge of the ring. Moments later, Taker grabbed Brock by the throat. Lesnar avoided it, went for a F5. Taker avoided it, countered out. Crowd went quiet again, and they went back to fighting on the floor. Crowd remained nearly silent as Lesnar worked over Taker with punches at 10 minutes, 45 seconds in. Lesnar shot Taker into the ropes, and Taker caught him with a DDT. Brock got back to his feet and went towards Taker in the corner and took a boot to the face. The crowd woke up when Taker caught Lesnar with a big boot. Taker followed up with a leg drop for a 2 count. 13 minutes in, Taker signaled for the chokeslam and didn't get much of a reaction until he performed a move, which got another 2 count. Lesnar came back with an F5 out of nowhere for a 2 count. 14 minutes, 5 seconds in. Heyman yelled that Lesnar has him where he wants him. Taker came back with a Hell's Gate and Lesnar teased tapping. Lesnar powered Taker up and slammed him down to break the hold. The horribly unconvincing JBL said he thinks that might have been all Taker had left. He talked about Taker going out like a true gladiator. Then Cole said he was calling that too early. Taker once again went for the Hell's Gate and Brock once again teased tapping. Heyman was the loudest person in the building as he yelled, "You're Brock Lesnar!" Brock once again picked up Taker and slammed him to the mat. What does Undertaker have to do? Cole asked. A tombstone or two? At 18 minutes 40 seconds in, Taker caught Lesnar in the Kimura lock. Lesnar reached the rope to break the hold at 20 minutes 10 seconds in. Taker went for an old school, but Brock pulled him into an F5 position to perform the move for a very close near fall, a cool spot. Lesnar hits a couple of rough-looking German suplexes that didn't get a reaction from the crowd. Heyman told Lesnar that Taker is going to be 21-1 and that he is the one. You're Brock Lesnar. You're a conqueror, as Heyman yelled. Lesnar started throwing punches at Taker, and while standing on the second rope, Taker low blowed him and then performed the last ride. 25 minutes, 55 seconds in, Taker performed the tombstone pile driver and draped Lesnar's arms over his feet, over his chest while pinning him, but Lesnar kicks out. Taker did his sit-up, then his throat slash gesture. Taker set up for another tombstone, but Lesnar countered into a third F5 and scored a clean pin. Fans booed as Heyman flipped out in celebration. At some point when he was outside, I saw that Taker was telling Brock Lesnar that something that what he was saying, but something about he botched the moves and you son of a bitch is what that's what I was read. You son of a bitch. and then they finished the match. There was actually a 2 count as the hold, but I never seen a 3 count, and it was a surprise that even the referee stood up. It's like, what the heck just happened? Even Paul Heyman's like, waited about a minute and a half before they said, you won, you won, you won, you won, you won. And I was saying BS the whole time. Controversy, as I say. Well, anyway, that's my opinion. The crowd continued to boo. Taker struggled to get to his feet. Both broadcast teams stood and clapped. The fans led Dorks claps on their own. And then once stopped, they gave the Undertaker a chant and applause. Taker finally left the ring to applause and headed to the hospital. As the music played, he walked up the ramp. As they cut the feed, they didn't even go back to a normal thing on the ramp. And the match took 25 minutes, 15 seconds. Like I said, what the hell was that? Controversy? Yes. It's a shocking WrestleMania moment, but I can't believe that they would have a part-timer wrestler who has already made the person to end the streak rather than someone who could truly benefit from it. Yeah, Lesnar gained something that would have momentum going into a program with Daniel Bryan, if they want to go there. But it's such a short-term boost for a guy who is unlikely to pay dividends long-term. The match was disappointing, and the crowd was destined to react this way because the build-up left so much to be desired. This was not a great streak match, and the broadcast team did absolutely nothing to help it with their embarrassing bad call. JBL was especially bad and inefficient. If this was the end of the line for Taker, it's a shame that he didn't go out with more fanfare, or at least with a story that would have elicited a better reception to the match. If there's a silver lining to this, it's that Paul Heyman's Raw promo should be glorious. At ringside, broadcast team spoke about Taker and spoke about him in the past tense while praising him. And you get your Divas match of the night. Match number 6, AJ Lee versus Naomi versus Trey Cameron versus Brie Bella versus Nikki. Bella versus Natalya versus Eva Marie versus Emma versus Lashana versus Alicia Fox versus Summer Rae versus Rosa Mendez versus Leia versus Tamina in a single fall match for the WWE Divas Championship. Well, I was thinking it was the same thing as the Vicky Guerrero Memorial Battle Royal. Well, as Vicky was watching and holding the belt and the match for ringside, Natalya went for a triple sharpshooter early that was broken up. The Bella twins worked together and they had a brief moment against one another. AJ hooked Naomi in the Widowmaker for the win. Another shocker as AJ retained the WWE Divas Championship. I was distracted by the match by some technical fun, and clearly the Raw crowd was still in hangover mode from the Undertaker shocker. Backstage, Mean Gene interviewed Hulk Hogan. Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper interrupted and bickered at Hogan. Well, this was they were teasing the match. Well, they were looking after Hogan over losing the first WrestleMania match. Mr. T showed up for Hogan to even up the sides. Pat Patterson entered the ring in his referee gear and told them it's been 30 years they all shook hands. Piper was the most reluctant to shake hands with Mr. T. And finally, Paul Orndorff eventually shook hands with Hogan. I was hoping for the geriatric match of WrestleMania. Didn't happen. Jesse Roberts introduced Bruno Sammartino, Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes, Bob Backlund, and Bret Hart, who were seated in the crowd. Ref Theory performed. For their entrance is for Randy Orton. Then we get Randy Orton versus Batista versus Daniel Bryan in a triple tap for the WWE Heavyweight title. Daniel Bryan sold the shoulder by leading his pre-match yes chant. Batista was coming to the ring, and he didn't have his normal pyro, so I knew he wasn't going to win. And of course, Randy Orton was out first, which always gives first man out, doesn't normally win. And noted that there were no DQs and no countouts in a triple threat match. Bryan took early punishment and sold on the floor. Orton got the better of Batista at ringside and then performed the move on Bryan to drop Bryan on the barricade. Orton and Batista went back and forth with Orton still in control until Bryan returned with a missile drop kick. He threw some kicks, but was cut down quickly. Bryan came back with top rope headbutt 8 minutes 40 seconds in and locked in the Borgasm. Yes, lock. And Triple H Stephanie ran to ringside for a distraction as Hunter pulled the referee out of the ring. Stephanie glared at Bryan. Yeah, I think there were 3 referees in this match who turned and walked into a spine buster. Hunter sent new referee Scott Armstrong into the ring. Batista hit the Batista bomb on Bryan, who kicked out. The crowd came to life in with the Borgasm chant at 10 minutes in. Batista charged at Bryan, who moved, causing Batista to crash into the corner. Bryan kicked the referee, Armstrong, so he's out. Then dove on to Hunter, and Armstrong and Stephanie were all bumped in the process by Orton. Triple H got the sledgehammer that was hiding under the ring. Bryan grabbed it and struck Triple H with it to knock him out of the competition, so to speak. Bryan rolled up Batista for a print, but Orton broke that pin up. Match built to the floor, and both Orton and Batista worked over Bryan. Hunter and Stephanie were helped to the back, and the crowd chanted, "Goodbye, na 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 na, hey hey hey, goodbye." Orton and Batista exchanged a long look that showed they were working together. Then they took the announce table apart. Batista said, yeah, there was 4 announcers table set up for this match. Batista sets up the Batista bomb, and Ricardo Rodriguez was on the Spanish announce team on their table. As all 4 tables were emptied, Orton waited on another and performed an RKO on the steel steps as Batista was doing the power bomb thing. As they did it simultaneously, the table broke and Orton took a nasty bump on one of the monitors. Orton came up with some blood on his back, but he was able to brawl with Batista on the floor as the trainers tended to Bryan. Batista continued to fight with Orton as he rolled Orton inside the ring, and the trainers put a neck brace on Bryan as they also had him on a stretcher. As they was about to carry him to the back, Orton hit Batista with a hanging, draping DDT off the ring apron onto the floor as Bryan shoving the medical crew away. My thing, he was tied in, so I don't know who let him off the stretcher, but he was able to get loose. Orton was there waiting for Bryan and whipped him into the ring steps. Orton rolled Bryan back into the ring. A loud Daniel Bryan chant started at 19 minutes in, and Bryan lying on the mat. Orton looked at the fans and motioned for them to keep it coming. Then he struck the Viper's pose. Orton went for the RKO. Bryan recovered and applied the Borgasm lock. In the middle of the ring, Batista returned to the ring and hit Bryan from behind to break up the pin submission. Bryan quickly put Batista in the Borgasm lock. Batista teased tapping, but Orton was there to break that up. Orton threw punches at Batista, and the crowd once again chanted for Bryan. Orton struck the Viper's pose and went for the RKO on Batista. But Batista shoved Orton aside. Batista went for a spear, but Orton jumped, and Batista speared Bryan and knocked him out of the ring. Orton hits the RKO on Batista, went for a pinfall, but Batista kicked out at the last second in an excellent near fall. 23 minutes in, Batista hit the Batista bomb on Orton, only had Bryan immediately blast Batista with the running knee. Then Bryan got the Borgasm yes lock on Batista and made a tap and became the new WWE Heavyweight Champion in 23 minutes 20 seconds to win the title. The Borgasm chant started as the yes movement moves on and the celebration goes. He goes to ringside, picked up both title belts, stood on the broadcast team table, and pumped them up in the air, and confetti was shot off. His shoulder was suddenly apparently better, but will suspend his disbelief. And credit the adrenaline, Bryan brought the family members into the ring and celebrated with him. Well, this woman that he was kissing was not Bella. This woman was blonde. He stood on the second rope, held both titles in the air. They stuck with Bryan celebration for a bit, and then Coleslaw delivered the send-off as Bryan celebrated by himself with both titles to close the show. The match was an excellent down the stretch. We was amazed that Orton was able to get up after he landed on the TV monitor. Triple H and Stephanie interference was logical from a storyline standpoint, even if we could have done without it. The post-match scene was excellent with massive amounts of confetti, and the live crowd was as flat as possible during it, especially after the Undertaker match really came to life. Overall, the show had a happy ending. Finally, they needed that for the movement to keep going. Undertaker loss is baffling, and the match especially is with the finish just major buzzkills. The undercard was what we thought it was, but were enough strong numbers to make it a memorable WrestleMania event. I have a feeling that the reaction to the show is going to be very polarizing, but perhaps the biggest victory for WWE is that the WWE Network did not have any major widespread issues. Well, that's why I watched it on Ringside News. The WWE website confirmed that Undertaker was hospitalized overnight, suffering from severe concussion, according to WWE.com story. Said that he was discharged on Monday afternoon. And Lords of Pain was stating that he had a neck injury. According to the story, Taker underwent a CT scan and medical testing at Ochsner Medical Center in New Orleans. There was no word yet onto whether he was scheduled for Raw tonight. For what is word, he was not listed on the events page of the WWE website. And again, the WWE website reported that Billy Gunn suffered a hematitis while taking the power bomb at the end of the six-man match at WrestleMania 30, while physician Chris Amann noted in a story that Gunn was essentially coughing up blood. We got the X-rays of his chest. Amann stated we did not show any evidence of a collapsed lung. So the diagnosis right now is that he most likely ruptured a small blood vessel that caused bleeding into the airways and subsequently coughing up blood. If you read the full story of Raw of the events at WWE.com. Well, again, thanks for viewing. Peace out. God bless. Stay tuned for Raw.